welcome to my class. I'm Amy Scher, and I'm so excited to be teaching how to take your healing power back. This is going to be super fun. You're going to learn lots of grounded, energetic healing techniques and perspectives so that you can help yourself on your own healing path and your own challenges that you're facing. So here we go with big idea number 1. Find what you resonate with. In my own healing adventure, I like to call it an adventure because it sounds a little bit more fun than it actually was at the time. But looking back, I learned lots of great stuff. On my own healing adventure from chronic illness and all kinds of other challenges, I really learned that getting behind what you resonate with is very, very important. So just to give a very quick background, and then you'll probably learn more about me as we go along. I suffered from chronic Lyme disease, which is a tick-borne illness that, if not caught early, can kind of ravage your whole body. And it wasn't caught early in me, and it did just that. And I didn't have, I went through all the Western medical treatment and didn't find a cure, and ended up getting a stem cell transplant in India, of all places, right? A crazy place to learn lots of lessons. So I went there, I got a stem cell transplant, it went really well, and years later, I started having symptoms again, after I was pretty much cured from all of my physical ailments. So what happened was I decided at that point, I kind of threw my hands up and went, okay, I have to turn inward. I have to look in a different place. And so I stopped doctor searching and I really soul searched and tried to find not only what in me was weakening my immune system and my sort of foundation, but also what did I really resonate with? What did my soul or my heart tell me was really going to help me heal? And so I really learned this lesson and want to pass this on to you, to find what you resonate with. If you are one of these people on message boards or lots of forums or lots of groups, you'll hear everything that everybody thinks cured everybody else, including themselves. But it's very, very important to get behind what feels good to you, because that's your intuition telling you what's good for you, what will work. And in my case, the stem cells really worked, but I also think a big part of my overall healing that I was actually able to pull in on sort of my second round of healing was because I spent so much time in India. So perhaps the stem cells I resonated with, but also at an inner core level that I couldn't quite grasp. Maybe my body knew I needed that time in India. So it's very, very important to follow what you resonate with. If you feel like you're resisting something, it's most likely because your body's saying, that won't work for me. And so it's really important to pay attention to those clues and just know so many different roads all lead to the same place. You're not going to miss. I tell my clients, I'm an energy therapist and an author, and I work one-on-one with lots of clients. And I always tell them, trust me, if there's some huge cure-all for everybody, you won't miss it. You'll hear about it somehow. There's no way you're going to miss it. And so I do invite you just to find what you resonate with and really just delve into that, dive into that, put all your energy behind that, because that's where your body's telling you to go. So ready for big idea number 2? Don't overdo it. And I have been coined the gung-ho girl before, because I can go gung-ho with anything and just go a little bit too far. So going slowly during your healing is really important. There's one reason for it that I like to share. And that's because we all have a subconscious mind, and in it is often a subconscious resistance to healing or to succeeding or to getting where we're actually trying to go. So if you try to take away this thing, this challenge, this sadness, this illness, this whatever it may be that you've had for a really long time, if you try to take it away way too fast, your body will resist it. Your subconscious mind will resist it, and it often slows down your healing. So the best thing to do is be sort of paced about it and sort of cool about it and follow a winding road to wherever it leads you, instead of sitting down and going, I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to do it all before Thursday. I've never seen anybody heal like that, and I've tried a lot of different times, and if you're willing to learn from my experience, you can know that most likely won't work and can actually stall you because it causes a lot of stress. I'm going to teach you an energy healing technique or an energy therapy technique that really, really works for me and a lot of my clients to reduce stress when they're feeling like they have to do everything at once. This is a Donna Eden energy medicine technique. Donna Eden is a pioneer in energy medicine and wrote some really great books. If you Google Donna Eden, she'll come right up. And one of them is putting your fingers right over your eyebrows. You're basically putting your fingertips over the frontal lobes of your brain. What happens when you're stressed is that all of the blood drains out of this area of your head. This area of your brain actually helps you think your way out of trouble or challenges or whatever it is. So when you're really stressed and you don't have any blood here, you feel very chaotic and you can't even calm yourself down enough to say, I'm okay, I'll get out of this. So touching very gently here and just holding until you feel pulses in your fingertips. It may take a few good minutes. And you're going to hold gently. If you're really stressed, you'll have an urge to push in really hard. That's not what you want to do. The reason this works is because our bodies are electromagnetic. Your fingertips are also electromagnetic as part of your body. And when you put your fingers gently here, what happens is you actually use your fingertips and the electromagnetic energy to pull the blood back up into the frontal lobes of your brain. And usually after a few minutes, you'll just feel like, I can come back. I can come back into my center again. You can use it anytime. If it's hard for you to hold your arms up like this, you can just put one hand over like this. And that works really well as well. So either way is all good. And that is called the oh my God points. These are called the oh my God points. And you'll actually notice sometimes when people get really stressed, they go, oh my God. That's because your body's naturally trying to get you to pay attention to this part of your body. So it's pretty cool. All right, that's it for number 2. For big idea number 3, it's use your intuition. And what I mean is use your intuition to tweak any kind of protocol or self-healing technique you're using. If you're reading a book and it says to use your right hand and put it in a certain place and do a certain thing, but you feel really called to use your left hand, you should follow that. Now, when you read a book on energy healing, and I write lots of directions on energy therapy techniques, I give directions because that's what I'm supposed to do and that's what everybody wants from me. But I always say, if you want to tweak it, it's not going to make or break the technique. If you use your right hand instead of your left hand, if you use this hand instead of 2 hands, none of it will matter. A lot of times that just means it will work better for you. So you'll see sometimes when you go to, a cranial sacral therapist or an acupuncturist, they'll kind of like play with the needle or play with where their hands are. And sometimes they're looking for the exact spot they're supposed to get to, but a lot of times they're actually looking for what feels good to them, what feels like it would help their client. So that's really important for you to do for yourself and just to feel that freedom of my intuition tells me to use my pinky finger instead of my pointer finger in these directions, and it'll all turn out okay anyway. So using your intuition. Big idea number 4, don't try to heal the world. Not yet anyway. The reason I say this one is because what happens when we learn these techniques and when we learn, wait, this self-healing stuff really does work, or taking our power back, or whatever way we're participating in getting our healing back into our hands, we can tend to want to help everybody else, which is a great thing. As human beings, we want to help everybody else, and we should in little incremental ways. But it causes a lot of stress on the body when you're overexerting yourself. And the whole idea about taking your power back is to take it back and be able to pay attention to yourself. What can also happen if you're going through challenges, and you might have experienced this before, is if you line up too closely with someone else, a friend, a relative who's experiencing something similar, not only will you not be able to help them because you're in the same place as them, but you will very likely start feeling their symptoms or their kind of slow or stagnant, or I don't want to say negative energy, but their sort of stagnant energy too. So when I became a practitioner, I was really careful that I started my practice years after I was well. I went back to marketing when I originally got sick in 2005 when most of my symptoms hit. I was a marketing director for Harley Davidson. And by the time it was super fun, but by the time I had healed myself, I wanted to help the world. But for a little while, I knew not to help the world. I knew just to go back to doing something where I could kind of get myself together and get far enough away from that energy that I would actually be a help when I went back. And that's exactly what happened. I know a lot of other practitioners who are still healing themselves, and while they help their clients a great deal, that energy, you need someone with a high vibration, somebody who almost doesn't resonate with that anymore to really help somebody come up and to be able to maintain your own balance as well. So try to help, but don't try to help heal the world all at the same time. Number 5 is ask for help when you're stuck. So this is a fine balance between taking your power back and also not owning it so much that you refuse to let anybody else help you. The reason asking for help is good is just because it's easier to have some balanced perspective when you're not in a situation. It's harder for all of us to figure out our own stuff, but don't we always know what to tell our friend or our mother or our teacher or whatever? So it's really important that we basically ask for help, maybe help in ideas as opposed to leaning on somebody completely, but just, hey, do you see this another way so that I can help myself? And that's what self-healing is all about. It's about really taking our power back and taking everything into our own hands and bringing in whatever feels good. It doesn't mean doing it all yourself all the time and causing an extra stress on you. So big idea number 6, one of my favorites, is find the silver linings. And if you can see the sign behind me in my office, every cloud has a silver lining. I think finding silver linings in life is the way to get through it. This is sort of my version of The Secret or the universal law of attraction, but in a much more broken down way. I have a lot of clients that come to me and say, I hate the universal law of attraction. It makes me so nervous. What if I'm thinking something negative? What if I just feel so bad that I can't think of something good? I can't focus on being healthy and running through the fields or being a CEO at my company. And what I always say is just take baby steps. What's the silver lining? And sometimes it has to be, and I remember these days for myself, sometimes the silver lining was, well, everything in my body hurts, but my pinky toe doesn't hurt. That's really awesome. And that was my silver lining, that there was 1/4 inch of my body that didn't hurt. It was right by my pinky toenail or whatever. It's really hard to jump from I feel miserable to I love life and I'm full of healing energy. Those kinds of affirmations and those kinds of far reaches are more likely to get you in trouble because when you try to reach for them, your mind basically goes, that's not true. That's totally not true. You don't feel amazing, and it ends up working a little bit backwards. But if you can find little silver linings in everything, then that will help you take the incremental steps toward feeling good. It's easier to go from point A to point B to C to D to E than from point A to point E right away. So finding the silver linings in your day, whether it's your car breaking down or a medication not working or whatever it may be, and you can get kind of humorous with them, but as I did with my pinky toe, and make yourself laugh. But what's the little thing that you can pick out that maybe isn't amazing, but is kind of okay, and just reach in small increments like that. The next one we have is stop judging everything as good or bad. I want to read a favorite quote of mine by Ram Dass, who I think is an absolute genius in basically every way, shape, or form. And this has really helped me, so I'd like to read it to you. It is important to expect nothing, to take every experience, including the negative ones, as merely steps on the path and to proceed. And I really like that because we can get caught up in, oh, this is good, this is bad, this didn't go how it should, and we get caught up in all that BS. And it's really best to go, it's just another thing. Let's keep going. It doesn't have to be good or bad or positive or negative or good for our healing or bad for our feeling. It's just all part of life. And so the way that I always look at that is when something comes up that I don't expect or didn't want, I always say, well, here's another opportunity to work at it or another opportunity to clear. And I don't judge it. I just go with it because it's right there whether I judge it or not. The only thing that will happen is I'll feel shitty about it if I judge it as shitty. So it's kind of good just to look at everything as, oh, this is just all part of a bigger thing that maybe I don't understand, but it's here and I'll deal with it and I'll move on. Big idea number 8, know the universe has your back. This is a really hard one. One of the most stressful patterns that we hold is feeling like everything's out of our control. Unless we control everything, things won't be okay. And what's important to remember is whether you believe in God or the universe or angels or totem animals or whatever it may be, there is something, I know we don't like to think about it, but there's something bigger than us. We're not the coolest thing that ever happened. We are, but there is a bigger force, a higher force, something else that's kind of working things out for us. So when things happen that we don't like, we have to remember it's part of a bigger plan. And I really learned that a lot of different ways. The reason that I went to India for a stem cell transplant was because I basically had failed all possibilities in the United States. And I was dying. My doctor said, we don't know what else to do. And I had been everywhere in the United States to the best doctors, to those doctors who could figure everybody out, everybody but me, apparently. And I went to India, and I remember my doctor saying, it might kill you, but I don't know what else to tell you. It was an experimental treatment, and it obviously wasn't FDA approved, and nobody knew what was going to happen in many years. And when you go to a foreign country, a third world country, to get medical treatment, you don't always know what could happen. So basically, I went and I learned so many things, and the stem cells did really, really help repair my body. And not only that, but I went on a few trips, and I ended up meeting the love of my life in the hospital, who turned out to be my wife, and we got married a few years later. Her mom was also being treated at the same stem cell clinic in India. And I got food poisoning and couldn't leave on time. And she came a few days later, and boom, it was meant to be. So now looking back, I always think if I didn't know must die, and if all my doctors didn't know must give up, I never would have met my wife. And looking back, of course, I can see so many things like that. That's kind of my biggest, most dramatic, fun example. But I can see so many things. I wouldn't have got into this work. I wouldn't be able to help thousands of people heal themselves and believe in themselves that they have that power to do that. And so now it's so easy for me not to judge and feel like, oh, this shouldn't be happening, because I know the universe knows way more than me. It did all along, and I'm okay. And I really kind of surrender my trust to that. And I'll tell you, it makes a big difference in your stress levels, and also just how fun life is when you can kind of throw your arms up and go, maybe I'm not in charge of everything. I'd like to think I am, but just kind of giving that to a different energy is really, really helpful. The next big idea is start simple. This is big idea number 9, start simple. You don't have to go from knowing nothing about how to do this because you've given up your power all these years to being a professor or being a perfectionist or knowing everything. I started by reading one book. My first book I started with was Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. It was a great book. I didn't resonate with every single thing in it, but I took a lot from it, and I went from there. I found another book that felt good to me, and that was Donna Eden's Energy Medicine book, and that's the title, Energy Medicine. I literally read one book at a time, one chapter at a time, and here I am years later, and I don't know if I consider myself an expert in mind, body, spirit healing, but that's what everyone else calls me, so I'll take it gratefully. But I have such an incredible wealth of knowledge and experience because I took baby steps. I didn't get overwhelmed. I really just read one book at a time, and I learned one technique at a time. And I played around with it one day at a time. And so I encourage you all to take some baby steps, and I'm going to show them to you. You don't even have to learn them yourself. You don't have to go out there and read books. Some really, really easy techniques where you can just start with baby steps, simple steps, taking things into your own hands. So the first one we're going to learn is the thymus thump. You have a gland right in the middle of your chest, which is right about here. I would say it's about a couple inches under like the mid or the notch of your neck where a man would tie a tie. And you might feel a slightly raised area in your chest. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to tap that gland. Your thymus gland is a big part of your immune system. It makes blood cells to help you fight infection and to keep your immune system up. The coolest thing is that by tapping it, you stimulate it. And by stimulating it, you remind it to work really well, really often. So you can also, this one can also be called the Tarzan thump. You can take both of your fists and you can just, it's a really easy way and you can't miss the spot. So you basically do that, and what's happening is you're waking up your immune system. This one also works extremely well for people who are panicked. The one I use for panic attacks is I don't do the thumping quite as hard because that's not super relaxing if you're panicked, but I use my fingertips like this and I just tap gently. And this is another one where you may have noticed, if I always feel like grandmas do this above anybody else for some reason, but if your grandma gets worried or they do this, oh, I feel whatever. And it is actually your body trying to draw you to that place to tap that gland because it calms and balances your whole body and it boosts your immune system. So that's called the thymus thump or the Tarzan thump. This is a great one if you have kids, to let them do this. When they're angry, when they're tired, it's like, do the Tarzan thump, and they all love to do this one. So I do this one several times a day. You can even set a timer on your phone if you have a smartphone 3 or 4 times a day just to take a little break, and you'll be surprised how it changes your energy. The next one on my list is the hookup. What you're going to do, and this is a Donna Eden energy medicine technique, you're going to take the middle finger of one hand and put it at your belly button, just inside your belly button. And it can be over your shirt. You don't have to go under your clothes. And the other middle finger at your third eye. These are 2 important points. When you pull up and hold them, what's happening is you're actually balancing and hooking up 2 of the meridians or the energy pathways in your body that are connected to all the other ones. So doing this, the hookup, by putting your middle finger of one hand in your belly button, middle finger at the third eye or between your eyebrows, is a great way to balance your overall system. This is my personal meltdown fix. If you ever feel like you're going to have a meltdown, this one will almost always take you out of it. Interestingly enough, this one will also work a lot of times for people who have seizures or about to faint. It works in such a way energetically that it helps bring the body back. That doesn't mean you shouldn't also call for medical help, but almost always it will help bring somebody out of a seizure. And Donna Eden teaches this. And I've experienced it lots of times for people who are either going to vomit or faint. That one, for whatever reason, because of how it works and how it hooks up your system and how gentle it is, will help with that. So that's one that you can have in your back pocket anytime for meltdowns or medical emergencies. The next one is a specific point on your hand, and it's right between your pinky finger and your ring finger, about halfway down on your hand, that I call the panic point. This is part of an energy pathway that dominates your fight or flight response. When your body feels like you're in danger or you're panicked, what happens is this energy pathway goes into overdrive. And a way to calm it down is to rub or tap this point. This is a really good one if you're nervous, if you're panicked, if you're feeling uneasy, if you're getting that sweaty palms feeling before you make a speech or go into a business meeting. This is a really easy one to do under the table, because this one, while it's very obvious if you are at a restaurant or in a meeting, this one's not. You can easily rub this all day long under your desk or at a restaurant, or in any social situation. If you have social fears about being in social settings, this is a really helpful one for that. I always teach this one to kids, like if they're playing sports, because somebody won't notice if they're standing around massaging their hand. They will notice if they're doing this, or and so this is just an easy kind of quiet one to do where nobody will know what you're doing. So that was big idea number 9. Big idea number 10 is let it go. This one's all about letting go, and there's a trick I have for this one. We tend to go over thoughts over and over and over and over, and we should have done this, and blah, 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 blah. And one of my favorite things is changing our language that helps us with letting go. And the one that I like the most is changing the term should have in all of your internal language to could have. Should have implies you did something wrong, and you can't let go of something. I should have. And that keeps the energy sort of in the present, in the current. But if you use could have, it implies a choice. And it's very hard to beat ourselves up about something we chose or resist something we chose. The body kind of registers it as a different energy. So instead of should have, could have is a really good way to say, I could have done this, but I didn't, and it's okay to move on. So that's a really important one, is just to tweak that language slightly. And you'll see it'll be interesting once you take that one out of your vocabulary. You'll probably notice you say it a million times a day. I should have done this. I should have done that. But as soon as you go, I could have, but I didn't, and it's time to move on, it makes such a big difference. So that was my big idea number 10. And I'm so glad that you joined this class. It was really, really fun to do. I've had a great time, and I'm so glad that all of my trial and error on healing is getting put to such good use. If you'd like to connect with me further, I would love to meet some of you either through emails or on my Facebook page. You can find out more information on my website, and it's www.amy, A-M-Y, middle initial B like boy, and my last name, Scher, SCHER.com. amybscher.com. And on there, I have lots of good articles. I have lots of free, simple techniques. I have an Amy's Favorites page where you can read about all the books that I love. And as you know, books are a big part of how I learn things and how I continue to learn things. So I encourage you to visit that page. And at the very top of my website, in my banner, there's also a sign up where if you give me your email and connect with me that way, my system will automatically send you a cheat sheet for emotional calm that has more of the types of techniques I showed you today. So if you find those helpful to have in your toolbox and you'd like some more, go ahead and connect with me that way. And I'd love to get to know you better. Thank you so much for joining today. It's been a real pleasure.